Hi, this is Maile Bloxam with Vicky's Fabrics, and we are back to Arabella. Woohoo! We finished this block and we are in the center of our quilt, complete. And that's going to give you a 60-inch by 60-inch square. So this is our first stopping point. From here, you can give me a call. We can get some borders out to you, and it's going to be awesome and beautiful. Okay, so we are jumping ahead. This is not the month 6. This is actually page 11, but doing these blocks finishes the center of the quilt. Okay, so a couple of things. These are the same components, but in reverse order. So there is a right side and a left side, and you are making 4 blocks each. Okay, these are beautiful. This is fun. We're starting with strip sets. Also, the instructions have you ironing a particular direction, and you want to follow those directions so that when you start putting these together, all these seams butt. Okay, this here, all your corners will zoop, zoop, zoop the way they're supposed to. Okay, so we are going to make 6 different strip sets. Okay, strip set A is going to be fabric number 9 and fabric number 6. You're going to press to fabric number 9. From here, you're going to be cutting 8 2.5-inch strips. Next, strip set number B. Letter B. Letter. Hello, letters and numbers. We're going to start with fabric 1, fabric 9, and fabric number 7. The next one is, see what's happening here? 2, 2. Now this is 4.5. These fabric 9s are all 2.5 inches wide. So we have a wider on the top, the fabric number 9, and then the fabric number 6. Now we've crossed the border. We have a long here, short. This is strip set number 5. Okay. And then strip set F. E, F. So A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, you'll notice that after the green on the corners, these alternate. Okay, so these alternate as they step. Fabric 1 is always going to be opposite fabric 7. Fabric 3 is always going to be opposite fabric 6. Okay, that's going to help you put all these together. So once you have your strip together, you are going to cut them into 2.5-inch pieces. Now I do want to do a cutting demo, and I'm going to do a cutting demo with one of these middle ones, because in a perfect world, this is always going to be a 2-inch strip. This seam is going to be straight, and that seam is going to be straight. We do not live in a perfect world. I can already see that there is a little bit of a bow in here, whether it's my pressing, whether it's my seaming. Okay, so this is my edge, and the goal for me is to get this block in here a very good 2-inch or this will be 2-inch by 2.5-inch rectangle after I cut. So I'm going to use a line on my ruler that I'm going to put on a seam, and I'm going to cut based on that seam every single time. So I know that from my tip here to here should be 4.25, which is very good. I know that this should be 2 inches, which is pretty good. And then all the way to the end till it meets the 6.5. I know I'm cutting a 2.5-inch strip, and I want to make sure that this and this is happening. Okay. I'm going to cut my first cut. Leave that alone. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to use the same line. If I use this line to try and line up, that's not the same reference line that I used. So I want to make sure I use the same reference line every time when I make my cut. Okay? I want to make sure that this is a good 2.5 by 2-inch square, rectangle. Okay? Because what happens if you continue to cut and you don't watch your squaring, making sure that that rectangle is happening with good 90-degree angles, is this middle thing starts doing this. And all of a sudden you've got a parallelogram instead of a good proper rectangle. And it makes matching to other pieces harder. Now, this is a simple strip set of 3, okay? So it's not too bad. But if you're working on a Bargello or something with a lot of strips, you want to make sure that you know where your shifting is happening. And again, in this case, it's not so bad, but knowing where your shifting is happening can help you later on to make adjustments. Okay, so once you have all your pieces cut, you're going to lay out. Now, this is actually what I did because it was just really helpful when I was putting this together, is I laid out at the same time the opposite sides. So I knew immediately, again, what the mirror image was that I was looking for. Yeah, see, that's not the right one. Okay, so I had my blocks set up. Now let's talk about when you're sewing multiple strips together. Okay, so I'm going to lay out my first 2 blocks. I'm going to make sure that they're correct, and then I'm going to stack 4 pieces, 4 pieces, 4 pieces, all the way this way, and then the other 4 pieces this way, so I know what order I'm going to sew my blocks in, and they're going to come out correct. Okay, so I'm going to take this to the side, and we're just going to look at this for a second. When we sew multiple strip sets together, if you start on one end and sew from top to bottom, and then sew the next one from top to bottom, and then the next one from top to bottom, what's going to happen is your strip set is going to start to bow. I don't know if anybody's noticed it, but the feed dogs on the bottom of your machine pull faster than the foot on the top. So this naturally becomes shorter than this. And then this is naturally going to be shorter than that. And this naturally shorter than that. And this starts happening. Okay. The way you combat that is you sew opposite directions. So you start here, sew down. When you add the next strip, you sew up. Adding the next strip, you sew down. Next strip, sew up. And next strip, sew down. Okay. What I often do is also these 2 together, these 2 together, these 2 together. I'm going to either make a mark, or I'm going to put a pin, or I'm going to know which ones I sewed to the top first, and then when I sew these 2 together, I'm going to start from the bottom and sew up. Okay, that just helps prevent your rows from bowing, and happen anytime you're working with strip sets. It's a good idea to remember that. Okay, and then when this is done, we get to put the whole quilt together. Woo! Well, the center. So let's go up to the board and see where we're at.